I'm here at Walker Australia with some of the most desirable lawn care machines if you're a contractor and want to learn more about them. So, I've come with Greg Smith, 25 years at Walker.
Correct.
So he knows a thing or two, and he's going to show me through the whole range. All right, Greg, tell me about this guy.
Okay, thanks Luke. So this is the Walker Model T 27i fuel injected catching machine. So this particular machine's got a 48-inch catching deck on it. And in the catching range, we can go 36-inch, 42-inch, 48 and 52-inch.
52.
Yeah, all the way up to 52-inch. This machine is a very popular commercial machine. It's awesome at catching grass, and we'll show you the internal blower and the oscillator system inside the catcher as we move forward.
Now, you've been using these, you said off air, you've been selling for 25 years, we just said that, but you've been using them for 30 years.
30 years, yeah.
Did you start out as a contractor, homeowner? How did you get into these machines?
So my association with Walker started with a large property maintenance company here in Melbourne, and part of my initiation into that company was I had to go and do some training on the machine. And the first thing that really struck me about the Walker was how manoeuvrable it was, being a zero turn, and that deck out the front gave us so much opportunity to reach in under fences, bushes, trees, manoeuvrability with the zero turn, and the way that the machine caught grass was just amazing. The second thing that struck me when I was in an operations role was that one of the jobs we quoted on, it used to take the guys all day, 2 guys all day, and they struggled to get it all done. And then we had to swap mowers around one day, and the guys rang me in the afternoon and said, "I'm finished 2 hours early." And I said, "How could you be finished?" And he said, "Greg, it's the Walker. We're catching the grass, and its efficiency and high productive mowing got the job done so quickly." That really struck me about these machines.
Now, I can back up that efficiency claim you had before, because I've got a similar model to this, and it broke down. I needed to get repaired, it was a little older, and I had to get a different mower to do the property I was doing, and it took forever. It was incredibly frustrating.
Yeah.
As soon as the mower was fixed, back to the efficient mowing, and really appreciated it. So, show me how this thing works.
Okay, so as I said, this is a 48-inch catching deck. One of the things with the commercial range of Walker mowers is they're PTO shaft driven, so there's no belts on the deck at all. It's all gear driven. So what that means is it allows the deck, being an out front deck, to float up and down like that, and side to side like that. So as you're mowing, it follows the contours of the ground, independent to what the tractor does. From a serviceability point of view, it also allows you to tilt the deck up to get access to your blades, to clean under your deck.
I'll get off the deck, let's do that.
So to tilt the deck up, it's really easy. Lift these tabs up, slide them out, grab the handle at the front, bend your knees, lift it up, lock it in, and now I can get access to my blades, clean under the deck, take the blades off to sharpen them, and I can store it in my shed. I can transport it like that on my trailer if I need to. Just strap the deck down here, and just makes it very serviceable and maintainable.
That's one of the things about the Walkers which is underrated. A lot of people will think about efficiency, they'll think about, you know, how much you're doing, all that sort of stuff. One of the reasons why I went for this is because I didn't have to buy a new trailer. Yeah. Because it fit in the trailer that I already had. Yeah. And when you are a contractor who's working out of your house and you've got limited space, you might want a machine that's going to be able to do a large area, but you're limited by what you can actually fit in your property. So that makes it a really good option for a lot of people. Correct. Okay, one of the big selling points is, at least what I read, is that a Walker go into a lot of time describing the research and development that go into the decks. Yep. I'll be honest, when I look at a deck, I just go, I don't really know how this is working. I just trust that they're serious, but do you know how to explain what they mean by the deck science and the airflow and everything they talk about? Sure.
So this is a 48-inch dedicated catching deck. So on the catching decks on a Walker, the blades are counter-rotating. So this blade here, there's your leading edge. Yep. It spins in that direction, throwing the grass straight into the chute. And this one spins in this direction, throwing it straight into the chute. Right. So Walker spend a lot of time, you can see the baffling under here and the angle that changes, directing the grass from here all the way down into the chute. Same on the other side. So it's very efficient. When it's moving forward, those blades are coming in, throwing the grass straight into the deck. The other thing that you'll notice is on the top of the deck, you've got these air vents. So in America, they cut the grass quite high, as you know. Yep. And there's a lot of air can get under the deck. But in Australia, we like to see the roots over here. So we cut quite low. So what we've done is we've put the vents in the top to let the air in, because airflow is critical, particularly when you're cutting long, wet grass.
So the blades are coming around, going through this chute. We're going to look at this in a minute, but out through there is another blower.
Correct.
So it's not just relying on the force just from the blades.
Correct.
The blades get it to the blower throws it into the catcher.
Up into the catcher, correct.
So you're now going to show us the blower, because it comes through here, and then where does it go?
Yeah. So the grass, as we explained before, the blades are counter-rotating. They throw the grass straight up that chute, and the mouth of that chute sits up inside a steel blower up inside. And as the blades are spinning, that blower is spinning, and it's vacuuming that grass through, and then throws it up into the catcher. In behind that grey panel there is an electric motor with an oscillator. And there's an oscillator going from side to side, and that disperses the grass evenly inside the catcher. The grass comes out, hits the back door, and throws it right up into the front here, and then it packs that catcher up. It packs it in like a bale of hay. The grass comes out through here, and when it's full, the grass level comes up, hits that switch, activates the horn, which is just in behind here, and that lets you know it's time to dump your grass. Once your catcher's full, on this particular model with the high dump fitted, you can activate the switch here. There's a dump switch here, and there's a lift switch here. You can dump this from this level down here, and as you dump, the back door opens, and it'll dump the grass out onto the ground. Or you can back up to a trailer or a skip, and you can lift the catcher right up into the air. It lifts about 1.7 metres, and then once you're up, then you can dump it into your truck, your trailer, or your skip. That's on this model. The Model T and Model D, you can put the high dump on it. The Model S, the Model C, and all the models, the T and the D, you can put a power dump option. And so what that is, it's a switch that we fit down in here. There's an electric ram under the catcher, and from this height, it will lift the catcher back and open the door at the same time, and you can dump your grass out onto the ground. Or, all the models, you can just get a manual dump. So once your catcher's full, the horn goes off, open the back door, and then manually dump it.
So really for a contractor, if the technical thing is away, the high dump is a must. But if you're a homeowner and you've got a section at the back paddock, or maybe you're doing a school or an area like that where you don't have to lift it up, then you can go with one of those other options.
Yeah, correct, yeah. Look, obviously price is a consideration, and there is a price factor in the high dump system. So there are a lot of contractors out there who use like a wool pack on the manual dump systems, open the back door, fit the wool pack around the back, and then you can dump all the grass into one bag, drop it down, and then away you go.
Next obvious question, how big is this catcher? Please don't say bushels. I'm sick of reading catcher numbers with bushels. So in Australian language?
All right, in Australian language, Luke, this is 350 litres.
Right.
Yeah, and the smaller catcher, I won't say bushels, is 250 litres.
Okay, and how high does this go?
This will go up 1.7 metres.
1.7?
Yeah.
So if you've got a trailer at home that's less than that, from the ground, this will be able to dump into that.
Yeah, correct.
And then the final question is, the weight of this machine, if this is packed with wet grass, and we're going to go try cut some in a minute, so we'll show this, but when this is packed with wet grass and we lift this all the way up, are we going to have the stability problems? What's the weight limit?
Yeah, look, there's no real weight limit. I've cut cape weed, which is really sodden with water, packed this thing full, and it'll lift it. I'm over 100 kilos. I've sat on this in a safe environment and just to test it.
Safe environment.
And it's lifted me, okay? So obviously, common sense, you're not going to be on the side of a hill and lift that in the air. Wherever you've got your trailer or your truck or your skip parked, it's going to be level ground.
Yeah.
So we're not driving around with this thing up in the air. We're stopped, then we lift it, dump it, bring it back down, and then drive off.
I might show a video. I was doing a verti mowing job with my one, and lots of sandy rubbish, which is not good for those blades, by the way.
Yeah.
Different subject. But the abrasive stuff, really heavy, and lifted it just fine.
Yeah, no problem at all.
So we just did a demo on this area. Thought you lost your sanity there for a second going through that patch over there.
Yeah, no, that's a good test, and that's what I like to do when I'm doing a demonstration. Take it to the toughest part of the property. Wet grass, long grass, we don't care. You want to test your machine, and as you can see, it's terrible conditions. It's been raining all night, and it picked it up.
So with this demo, it's great that it rained earlier.
Yeah.
So it was some really heavy rain this morning. You can see me squeezing the water out. There's a previous contractor who's obviously done slash and dash. To be fair, this is kind of the area you would do a slash and dash in.
Sure.
But you've gone over that clipping's pre-existing pile. So this is beyond the wet grass.
Yeah.
Picked it all up, and obviously we've packed this now full. The alarm's gone off, so why don't we lift this up and show what we've done in the wet conditions.
So as you can see, that packs it in like a bale of hay. And as we talked about before, that oscillator going from side to side with the switch coming out, that switch has hit the grass, set the horn off. Now I know to stop, and then I can go dump my grass.
To be fair as well, in that patch over there, you're demonstrating what it can do. It's not really what it's supposed to do.
No.
But this wet grass here, if you are a contractor,
Yeah.
and it is just a normal maintenance, that's the results you're going to get.
Correct. That's real life mowing.
Yeah.
This paddock is normally cut with a tractor and a slasher. But the reality is, if you're a contractor, this is what you're faced with. So
Yeah.
you've got to be able to catch the grass if you want to.
Let's go dump it over there.
Sure.
So even in the wet conditions, give it a wiggle, and she comes out.
Yeah. That's right. So we're not wiggling from side to side, just straight back. And sometimes if it's wet, you just need to give it a little bit of a helping hand, and away it goes.
Yeah, dry just falls straight out, obviously.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So reiterate, 1.7 metres high,
Yeah.
350 litres.
Correct.
And I would estimate you've done, I say, 500 squares. Is
Yeah.
probably fair on this.
That'd be right.
It's very hard to estimate, but
It
in
is.
that ballpark, and maybe do this entire area, you might need a few more of these. But that's the point, is that done, moved out of the way, and when you've got a contract that needs that, there you go.
Correct.
So another thing to mention is how far back it goes, because it's not just getting into the edge of the trailer. We just measured it from hinge to hinge, about 850, a little bit extra, maybe 500 for the far point of the catcher tipping over.
Yeah.
And in the real world, that means...
That means if you've got like an Isuzu tip truck, you can back the machine right up to the truck, and it'll dump in the middle of the truck. So you can start at the front and dump all the way back and come out a little bit and fill it up on either side of that, so you can fill your truck right up.
Yeah, because you're not just tipping just at the edge.
Correct.
And losing the space that you actually had.
Yeah.
So look at the rest of the range. We've got two here with catches, very, very similar.
Correct.
Talk about them in a minute. The two here, no catches.
Yeah.
Is this legal? Are you allowed to have walkers without a catcher?
We are. Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah, that's right.
I just got to check.
So this is our Model R. It's our entry level into the walker range, R for residential. It's a 21 horsepower Kohler, moving to 22 horsepower. Comes in a 42, 48 and 54 inch deck. It's all belt drive. It's got exactly the same features in that the deck's out the front. It floats. You can tilt the deck up.
Yep.
I can put an accelerator catcher on the side for those times that I want to catch grass. And it's an awesome little machine for large residential, light commercial mowing.
I'm just going to lift this up and just demonstrate that. And this guy, who's this?
Okay, so this is our B series. So this is our commercial range of non-collect mowers. So it comes in two engine sizes, a 23 horsepower Kohler Command Pro carbureted engine, and this one is the 27 horsepower fuel injected Kohler Command Pro.
Which is the same engine on the other mower we were just looking at.
On the big catching
The big
machine.
one, yeah.
Correct, yeah. So deck sizes here start from 36 inch. We can go 42. This one's actually a 48 inch. 52, 60 inch, all the way up to 74 inch.
And I think at this point we should start talking about decks, because 74, enormous side throw,
Yes.
but some of these will be mulching decks you can put on.
Yeah. So this, the 42 and 48 inch decks have got, they come with a mulch plug, and there's different blade configurations for fine mulching. We have a recut kit for the 42 and 48, which is a stacked blade, one on top of the other. It cuts the mulch grass up nice and fine. So 42, 48, as you said, the 74 is a side discharge, the 56 is side discharge, and because they're gear-driven decks and PDO shaft-driven.
So this is PDO, not
this
belts.
is PDO, yes,
Yeah.
correct. So you can see the PDO shaft just down in there, all gear-driven. When you've got belts going around lots of pulleys, it creates friction. Friction sucks horsepower. So on the Walker, the commercial range, it's a very efficient delivery of power out to the deck because you haven't got all that friction belt sucking power.
The other thing I've heard about these is because there's no big catcher in the back, the weight of the driver is straight over the wheels.
Correct.
The centre of gravity is right here.
Yep.
And what I've seen is the slopes it can do is much greater than other machines.
Correct, yeah. That's exactly right. So the balance point on a Walker is centralised right on the axle. As we discussed, the springs here on the deck are transferring the bulk of the weight of that deck back here onto your drive wheels. You're sitting low to the ground. So when you go down a hill on a normal zero-turn mower, the weight transfers from the back wheels where your traction is down to the front, and you can slide down the hill. On a Walker, the opposite happens. When you go down a hill, all the weight loads up on your drive wheels where your traction and your steering is, and you can quite comfortably drive down and back up. So very agile machine.
Do you know what kind of degrees on slopes this will be comfortable on?
15 degrees is what I'm allowed to tell you.
Okay. And sounds like there's stuff that isn't allowed that might be possible too, but that's not allowed.
That's correct.
It doesn't happen. And in addition to the slope conversation, that's some average tyres, normal tyres. These ones make me feel like more of a man.
Yeah, that's right. So these are what we call our all-terrain tyre option.
Yep.
And you can fit that on any of the Walkers.
Right, okay.
So it obviously enhances your traction on steep slopes in wet boggy conditions. So some contractors have two sets of wheels and tyres.
Ah, yes.
They have the turf for the dry season, and then when it's wet, they put these ones on. Gives them better traction. You've got a little bit more careful when you're turning.
Yeah.
But because it minimises any slip in the wet, it actually does less damage. So it's awesome.
Any zero-turn style independent moving wheels will grab the grass, and I can imagine this would grab it more, which is what you want when it's wet.
Yes.
So I can understand getting both. Do you know the price point on the upgrade?
They're an exchange. So if you buy a machine up front and you exchange the standard tyre for that one, it's about 210 exchange for that.
Okay, if I wanted a second set?
You're testing me now. I'm going to say roughly 600-700, something like that, for a full set
That
of wheels
ballpark.
and tyres.
Just
Ballpark.
don't quote him on it
Don't
because
quote
he
me.
might lose his job, all
Yeah.
right? And what's this guy here?
Okay, Luke, so that is the weight counterbalance for the accelerator catcher system.
Pretend to be professional. Keep going.
So it sits on this side of the deck to balance the deck out when you've got the accelerator catcher.
Ah,
full of
yes.
grass.
Ah,
Alright?
yes,
So
yes,
it
yes.
just balances and keeps that deck level.
Ah, cool.
All right.
Let's have a look at these guys. So C19,
Yep.
C23i.
Yep.
I've been paying attention.
Yes.
My guess is the number is horsepower,
Correct.
and I is.
Fuel injected.
There you go.
That's right.
So is there anything else different about these machines, or is it like it's the same kind of chassis, same kind of catcher system?
It's a good question. So these are different chassis, different transmissions,
All
and
right.
a different blower configuration.
Oh wow.
So the
Why use C?
So well, C stands for commercial.
Oh, okay.
All
Yeah,
right.
okay, makes
T,
sense.
T originally standard for twin, D's for diesel.
Yes.
Okay. So Model C19, it has the same blower and the same transmissions of the Model T27i with the high dump we've just tested.
Yeah.
It's exactly the same underneath. It's got the small 7 bushel, 250 litre catcher.
Thank you.
And this particular machine's got our multi-deck on it, which is very popular for contractors. It allows us, by moving baffles around under the deck, to set this deck up to catch or mulch or side discharge. That deck I can put on any of the catching models.
So
in the Walker.
any catching model, you can have the multi-deck?
Yeah.
Right.
And that comes in 42 inch or 48 inch.
How long does it take to put the mulching plug on?
Look, if you get proficient at tilting the deck up, probably a couple of minutes, tilt it up, put the baffle in, move it out, drop it down and go.
Another point on this is the time it takes to swap over a deck.
Yeah.
Because you talked about before, there's a huge range of decks.
Yes.
Because you could put a side discharger on this if you wanted to,
Yes.
and not catch
Yeah.
a dedicated mulching deck. I mean, you could get the 3-in-1. But the idea is that you could buy one, what you call a tractor,
Yes.
multiple decks to suit the different clients that you have.
I've actually got a 42-inch side discharge deck on this Model C 23i. Even though that's a catching machine, I've just tried to show the versatility of this walker because that could be a 74-inch side discharge deck.
Yes,
And I could run a
sneaky.
I could run a 42-inch catching deck alongside it.
Yes, client, I am catching. I'm definitely catching.
Yes,
See?
that's correct. Yeah, and that's the beauty of the multi-deck. Different times a year you want to catch the grass,
Yep.
but others you want to mulch it.
Different jobs.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, no, this is a deck I've got.
Yeah, they're awesome.
Yeah.
Really, really good.
And these are the manual.
Manual dump.
Do you want to show me this?
Sure. So it's exactly the same as before. The oscillator inside, the switch, the siren goes off. When it's full, jump off the machine, grab the back door, lift it up, grab your handle, and then dump. Simple as that.
Easy. When it's full wet grass, is it quite heavy?
It's reasonably heavy, yeah, but it's actually, once you get, rather than trying to lift it like that, just yank it and lift. And it's actually quite easy.
Once it gets over the hinge, I'm sure.
Correct, that's right. And so as I said before, a wool pack or a big grass bag right around the outside here, hold it up tight, and then grab your handle, lift it up, and fill the whole grass bag full of grass.
With this machine, this one you can't get the high dump on.
Correct.
It's just the commercial machines.
Yeah.
On the commercial machine, I should say, what is the price point difference between this as standard
Yes.
for a catcher
Yeah.
and the high dump that we've seen before as an addition? Because we don't have time to go through all of it because we don't have the multiple models.
No.
But there's a lot of extra metal, not just the hydraulics, there's bracing and everything that goes
Correct.
into it.
Yeah.
So difference in the price point.
Okay, so on the Model T and the Model D, with the high dump system, currently 2024, it's about 10 grand on top of the standard machine. Yeah.
And this would come standard.
This is with the Model C is either a manual dump or you can get a power dump. And the power dump's about 2,400 roughly.
So you start off with this, you can go to the power dump, and
Correct.
power dump just tips it manually.
It literally just lifts that back, opens the door as it goes.
Sorry, I said manually, I meant hydraulically.
Yeah.
So you got the manual, then the hydraulic, just a lift, and then the high dump, which lifts.
Up in the air.
Dumps. Okay,
Correct.
awesome.
Yeah.
I've been on the website. There's quite a lot of these additional things on there. I don't know if they all get to Australia.
Yeah, look, we've got a few of them here. Obviously, we don't sell too many snow blowers over here in Australia.
No.
But one of the things we do sell and is popular for contractors is this dethatcher here.
Right.
And on the 42 and 48 inch decks, it simply clips onto the deck, and with this handle here, you can lift it up when you're transporting, and then when you're ready to go, just drop it in the grass. It's got spring tines on them here, and as you drive forward, the tines drop into the thatch, and then it flicks it out as you go.
Yes.
Run your catching deck at the same time, and pick all that thatch up.
Yes.
And it really does a really, really good job.
So really it's like a tickle,
Yes.
because there's different, people have different words for everything. This is probably more like what we would call grooming in a
Yes.
golf course sense.
Correct.
Maybe not a full verti cut getting
No.
into the soil, but if you do this regularly enough, what they
Yeah.
do on golf courses do enough so that it doesn't get that bad.
Yeah, correct.
I'd love to give this a try. I get nervous about this sort of stuff because the US versus Australian
Yeah.
grasses, even though they're
Yeah.
everywhere in the world, but cool season versus warm season, but these are a lot sturdier
Yeah.
than on some of the residential machines I've
Yeah.
seen. So
On the Kikuyu lawn, as you know, when it gets really thatchy,
Yes.
and they haven't been catching it, and they've let it get really, really thick, you pull the grass apart and you can see all that dead thatch. And that just gets down in there, and yes, as you say, it's not as aggressive as a scarifier, but it just lifts that thatch out, picks it all up at the same time, and away you go.
we should also say the price point on a Scarify is through the roof.
Yeah.
What's the price point on this?
Just under the $2,000 mark, but check with your local Walker dealer.
Talking about attachments, I saw at Equip
Yeah.
that they have a aerator platform,
Yeah.
deck I should say, we could call it a deck, attachment that goes on the front here, and it's a cam driven, which I'm very excited about. So
Yeah.
cam driven aerator that goes on the front of a walker, looked about the 40-inch size deck, right?
Yeah.
Now you used it in America.
Yeah, yeah.
What was it like?
I was in America in May this year, 2024, and so I've got a sneak preview on it. And as you said, you just slide the catching deck off, put the perforator on, and it's cam driven, and it takes a core, takes a plug out of the ground. And so you just drive along, and it's driving, engage the PTO, and it just drives into the ground, pulls the core out, and aerates the ground.
Do you know, and it's said coming 2025, we're usually a little bit slower in Australia, so do you know roughly when it'll be ready?
Look, at a guess, it's going to be 26.
Okay.
Let's say later 26.
Later 26, roughly.
Yeah.
And rough Australian price point?
Look, it's really hard to know because they haven't really set up for tooling yet. So I'm only going to be guessing. So watch this space.
Okay, all right. Contact your dealer and put some pressure on them if you want a price. But at the end of the day, a lot of these decks, the price is in the tractor.
Yeah.
And once you've already got that, the additional deck is usually a lot cheaper than buying a machine that has the engine on it and everything, and the transmission and everything. So,
well, the different decks make it a very versatile machine. As you said, catching deck or side discharge deck.
if I want to take a deck off and put a new deck on, put the attachment, well, that attachment goes on the front, but a different attachment that goes on there. I want a snow blow in Perth, Western Australia, for whatever reason. How quick does it take, and what's the process like?
Okay, so let's just take this machine here. I'm going to lift the catcher back, and I'll lift the seat forward. These counterweight springs, I'm going to release that, drop the seat back down. I've got two clips that conveniently just sit up in there. One there, one there. I usually drop my deck down a little bit.
Yep.
And then I come around and just pull that straight out, just like that. What you've got here is the quick release coupling, okay? That's marked with an arrow on the top of the coupling. All right, so this shaft is unitized. That matches up. I've got my blades on the grass, but on the ground there, but that lines up, slides in there, and slide the deck back on, hook it back up, and away you go.
There you go. So if I had a trailer that was big enough, I could fit multiple decks, take them to the jobs that quickly.
Yep, so you could literally have a 74-inch side discharge deck in your trailer, standing up on the side, strap it to the side of the trailer, and then I've got all that room that I can put my walker with my catching deck, and away I go.
Yeah. Now the last thing as well is, with these machines, obviously the engine's enclosed, but this all lifts up. We just saw it there.
Yeah.
It's all lifts up, so it's actually relatively easy to access.
Yeah, it really is. So, as we've shown before, it's easy to tilt the seat forward, tilt the catcher back, and now I've got access to everything. My engine, check my oil, I can check my belts, get your blower at the end of the day, blow it all down, and check your oils. Very easy to service, very easy to maintain.
The blower, how long do you usually get out of a blower?
Yeah, that's a good question, and it is one of those variables. You guys over in the West, you're mowing a lot of sand.
Yeah.
Sand is abrasive,
so
you're going to get less hours than someone who's mowing nice, pristine lawn over here. So hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hours if you're cutting nice, clean lawn, and you're a better judge than me in Western Australia with all the sand.
I did some verti mowing jobs and I regret it.
Yeah.
But you know what? You made the money from it, so you just factor into your price.
Exactly, yeah.
Now, to replace them, you need a hoist or some sort of lift.
Yeah, take it to your walker dealer. Yeah. And they're the best ones to do it for you. Lift it up on a hoist, do it safely. But it is very maintainable. There's, you can change the impeller, change the housing, change the whole thing. It's quite easy to do. The
belts as well?
Yeah.
You should, as a contractor, carry spare belts. Just any mower.
I agree.
Any situation you're in, because I've had it plenty of times. You're halfway through a job, you snap a belt, it's a small change and you don't have one. But most of this is belt driven.
Yes.
Obviously the PTO is PTO, but in the back here, belt driven, which means that you can just replace it.
Replace the belt easily without tools. The idler pulleys are spring loaded, spring tension. So you just take the tension off the pulley, off the belt rather, and you can remove that belt without tools and put it straight back in.
The price point question is obviously going to be different for every single machine with every single configuration. It gets so confusing that you're better off just going to the dealer and asking.
Correct, yeah.
What I keep saying is that as a contractor, one of the last things you should think about is the cost of the machine. You have a budget, everyone has a budget, I understand that, I've been there too. But if you are thinking about return on investment, you may get your money back much quicker with a different machine than what you thought, even if it's more expensive.
Yeah, that's right. I tell people that a walker is the cheapest employee that you'll ever have.
Yeah.
You know, and it's one thing to look at the price, and we acknowledge walker's a good investment price-wise, but look at the cost of ownership, the overall cost of ownership. And these are very, very productive, very efficient, very capable machine. And I know a lot of contractors making good six-figure incomes by themselves with a walker on the trailer.
Yeah. I know guys who are charging, with these machines, $250 an hour, and no complaints.
Yeah.
Because for somebody else to mow with a walk-behind machine that catches, or even a less efficient catching machine, they're going to pay the same price with someone else who's less efficient. I hope that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, I've had customers call me and say, I want the name of a contractor in my area that's got a walker because I want my grass picked up. I don't want kids cutting grass into my classrooms or into my caravan park or that kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
All right. Well, mate, thank you so much for coming on.
You're welcome, Luke. Great to meet you.
I saw on that chair, it said demo machine. Correct. Does that mean if the contractor listening to this or homeowner wants to try it out, they can give it a go?
Yeah, they can get in touch with us at Specialised Mowing Equipment. Our head office is in Wagga. We've got authorised dealers all around the country. And like myself, I've got counterparts in Sydney and Brisbane and all the major centres. We've got a fleet of demonstration models, and we're happy to come out and do a demonstration.
And you've got more models than this as well.
I do.
Believe it or not.
Yeah.
So have a look at the range. A lot of it, as you can tell, it's pretty customisable. You can put the catcher you want on. You can put the deck you want on. So head down to your dealer, have a look. Thank you again for coming on.
You're welcome. Thanks for having us.
Everyone else, we'll see you in the next episode.